product should I use to prevent the skin on my feet from blistering when running in the desert? I am often asked this question, and especially after recently speaking at the Marathon des Sables Expo in London. So this blog is written to help clear up any confusion regarding whether you should harden or soften the skin on your feet before a major running event in the desert. But the question you really ought to be asking is, how do I prepare the skin on my feet for a major running event? I was a podiatrist at the MDS in 2024, and I know what runners' feet will look like after challenging themselves to that extreme event in the desert. I want to try and reduce the very high 78% numbers of blistered feet arriving in the medical tent. Going back to basics on what causes blisters. They are multifactorial in cause, and the reasons are friction, pressure, moisture, bone and soft tissue movement, lack of conditioning, and indirectly by heat, which then causes excessive sweat, creating moisture next to the skin. So, when you rule out friction, pressure, moisture, soft tissue and bone movement, you are left with skin conditioning, which was one of the major contributors to blisters, and it needs to be better understood. In the musculoskeletal world, MSK for short, there is a term regularly used for muscle and tendon injuries referred to as capacity and load. The injury is caused by an increase of load on the tendon or the muscle that doesn't have enough capacity to cope with that load, more commonly known as an overuse injury. The same principle can also be applied to the skin, and that's why blisters present after a run. The blister is caused by the load exceeding the skin's capacity to take that load. So, load applied to the skin can be thought of as body weight, backpack weight, distance, pace, stride length, footwear, body positioning, mechanical issues, peak pressure loads, and terrain. All of these factors create the load on the skin during an activity. The skin's capacity to take this load may be lacking, and consequently, if the load is too high for the skin's capacity, it will blister. So when searching for that one magic cream, potion, lotion to solve blisters, it won't be there. When you recognise all of the above factors that increase the load on the skin, then no product will solve that problem by itself. The secret is finding the right solution for you, and each runner is unique to themselves. So, is your skin's capacity to take that load that you will want to apply on it? My reasoning for writing these blogs is to help you see yourself as an individual and recognise what you can do for yourself in preparation of solving your blister problem, as your skin's issues will be different from others. The skin's largest organ in the body, and it does a great job as a barrier, protector and regulator. However, it is mainly taken for granted and poorly understood. Please consider your skin on the same level as your tendons and muscles, as without it, you'd be in serious trouble. The skin is such a resilient structure and usually responds well to the forces put upon it. However, if a curveball is thrown at it, it may falter, as it wasn't prepared for that surprise. The curveball I speak of may be a set of circumstances that surprise the skin. It may be desert running, attempting a marathon for the first time, climbing a mountain, or outdoor swimming in a wetsuit. These events are not part of your daily activities, and it is challenging for the skin to recognise these new forces that it hasn't experienced before, and that's when it usually blisters. So, before applying surgical spirit, compound tincture of benzoin or any products, you must ask yourself, how will this product prepare my skin for a desert run and prevent blisters? The answer is crystal clear. They won't be able to do it by themselves, as they don't represent the factors I've listed above that increase the load on the skin, nor can they increase the capacities of the skin to take that load by themselves. Considering a layered blister prevention approach will have a more successful outcome. Once you start questioning your purchasing choices and what they can do for you, you would already be well on your way to preventing blisters on the feet. So, my advice on conditioning the skin and changing the load capacity ratio are as follows. The first one is to train the skin to expect any unexpected surprises. Look at your training program for an event that you plan to do, and does the timeline fit in terms of having enough time to train? If you are running in the desert, like the MDS Legendary, then you are bound to find some hills to run up and down, as the terrain will have as many ascents and descents. This prepares the skin for that job. Your stride length will also differ from road or treadmill running. Train on beaches regularly, as the sand will be everywhere in the desert, which can be much harder and more challenging for the lower limbs. Use heat chambers to get your body acclimatised, and run with heavier clothes and a weighted backpack to replicate the heat and conditions the desert will bring. Walk absolutely everywhere, to work, shops, the gym, your dogs, or anything else. Use the stairs rather than a lift, because a lot of the time when you're in the desert, you will actually be walking and not running. Factor walking into everyday life, as it is very different to running. These changes will help the skin on the feet recognise the challenges ahead. Ultimately, it's increasing the capacity to take more significant load that the desert will ultimately present. The second one is increasing the load on the skin on a gradual basis. Start with minor changes, allowing the skin to adjust to the increase of force being applied. Once you feel more confident, then increase those changes for longer and more frequently. As you can imagine, your skin's capacity is like a staircase. You are slowly going up each step at a time. And then when you do get to the top, the skin will have fully adjusted to what you are expecting it to do. Don't forget, it's the same principle in prevention of muscle and tendon injuries. We are just preventing or preparing the skin so it doesn't injure and blister. The third is improving the skin's integrity on the feet before an event. I prefer the skin to be free of calluses and corns before an event. Hard skin does not flex or move like elastic, resilient skin. The skin should be supple, elastic, flexible, hydrated, and in optimum condition before any race. This way, the skin will flex and resist the extreme forces applied to it when running in the desert. Dry, cracked, or wet, macerated skin will not operate optimally and will ultimately falter because it's not at its peak performance. There are plenty of creams on the market that work as an emollient for the skin, but for me, I like a product called Foot Mender. This cream only needs to be applied every day for 10 days and then once or twice a week thereafter. So if you're lazy like me, applying cream, then this is the one for you. It may seem more expensive than other creams, but you don't need much of it. And because the applications are less, it lasts longer. The fourth, tell the skin what you want it to do. Start thinking about your event and what it will look like, and consider how your skin will deal with that challenge. What changes have you implemented so the skin can recognise what it has to do? Simply put, the skin works really well under direction, but you must tell it what's going to happen to it. Fifthly, how weight, which is force downwards, influences the skin on the feet. If you are carrying extra body weight or a heavy backpack, aim to reduce both weights before you start an event. Body weight increases the force load going through the body and ultimately through the feet. Having seen it in the MDS Legendary, I can remember how a backpack weight can make a massive difference to foot blisters, but also on the back where the backpack is, where it's too heavy against the lower back and shoulders. Therefore, training with a backpack precisely the same weight as you plan to carry is essential to help the skin recognise what is going to be expected of it, because then you have factored in all the variables that running in the desert will inevitably bring, like extreme heat, which causes sweating and ultimately blisters. Recognising the forces and reducing them, going through the body and ultimately the feet, will make a massive difference to the outcome. Number 6, stride length changes and how that affects the skin. Cadence or stride length will change in different terrains, which then can cause blisters. If the skin hasn't been used to that change in stride length in training, the skin will not be conditioned to that change. You will definitely be walking more in the desert, so run walking is something that you should be doing more often before the event, alongside changing the stride length up and down. This way you are conditioning and preparing the skin that eventually will happen. Beach running should also prepare you, as stride length differs from road running. Number 7, sweating and what happens to the skin. Sweating in a hot climate will increase dramatically, which is a challenge for the skin itself. So when you sweat more, the foot becomes wet and macerated. Consequently, any water next to the skin will generate blisters. So it would be best to find socks that wick the sweat away from the skin and keep it dry. The heat in the desert will challenge the skin, and sadly the weather in the UK doesn't replicate those circumstances. Heat chambers do though, and it's worth going to one and seeing how you can manage. Coolmax and merino wool are the best materials that wick the sweat away from the skin. Number 8, pressure on the skin and how it causes blisters. Peak pressure loads on the feet. I have written about all this previous to the blog. It's more about the mechanics of the foot and the leg affecting the forces applied to the skin and the effect it can have on the skin. Body positioning can change the mechanics of the lower limb, especially when running up and down hills. The skin on the forefoot, as in the balls of the feet, will take much more load and inevitably blister, especially if they are not conditioned to do that action. Prepare the skin by running up and down many hills, as this will condition your feet for the ascents and descents in the desert that will bring. If you don't have them in your locale, travel to challenge the skin in this way. Day 2 stage of the MDS Legendary brought more blisters under the balls of the feet than any other day, due to the hilly terrain. It's not great when you've got another 4 days of running to go. Number 9, how footwear affects the skin. Footwear is also a consideration when conditioning the skin on the feet. Use the same pair of trainers and duplicate them by wearing them side by side for training and then taking one of the pair in with you. This way the feet will get used to what you've been running in at any event. Please don't take a new pair with you. Even if they're the same make and size, they will always be slightly different. Number 10, how running pace can affect the skin. Pace when running is essential to replicate before an event. Every runner has their own pace, and it's vital to recognise what your pace is when training. Then the skin adjusts to that pace over time. If you then run at an event at a different pace, and maybe trying to keep up with another runner's pace, then the skin will falter, as it won't have adjusted to that change in force that was applied to it, ultimately causing blisters. 11, how running distance affects the skin. The running distance must be achieved in training before your event. It is vital for the skin to prepare for the distance it's expected to do. Don't just do it once either. It has to be many times. Just looking at those runners who don't seem to get any blisters, that will be the primary reason. Distance covered in training before any event, or especially like the Marathon des Sables, which covers such a high distances every day for 6 days. The skin on the feet has to know this and achieve it many times. This goes for backpack blisters too. Wear a weighted backpack everywhere you go, whether you go to work, shopping or walking the dogs. The skin will adjust to that weight. Hopefully, this has given you some insight in how you can prepare your own skin for the event you have planned, and it has changed your thought process from looking from just one product that will prevent the skin from getting blisters. This way you will understand that blisters are multifactorial in cause, and it's up to you to consider what your skin's ability is and how you can actually improve it.